My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra $1, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we've handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles, and when fully loaded, can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers, but some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back-to-school season into back-to-beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about Platinum status and the Fuel Rewards program, or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months. 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Born in New York City, in the land of dreams, with ambition as big as they seem. From a young age, he built his own way. Donald Trump is his name, and he's here to stay. This is the ballad of Donald J. Trump, man of his word, who never slumps. From the east to the west, they know his name. He's a man who fights for his people the same. On July 13th, in Pennsylvania's town, at a rally in Butler, shots came down. A bullet sought him from a rooftop high, turning his head, danger passed by. This is the ballad of Donald J. Trump, a man of his word, who never slumps. From the east to the west, they know his name. He's a man who fights for his people the same. That day, as he showed a chart, keeping harm at bay, with his ear wounded but standing strong. He rose up again and continued on. This is the ballad of Donald J. Trump, never slumps. From the east to the west, they know his name. He's a man who fights for his people the same. I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, good Sunday night, everybody, and happy first day of fall, as it was just pointed out to me in the chat, and it kind of slipped my mind, but we are officially into fall. Here in Oklahoma, that won't be until November, though. So it doesn't really matter. All right, so we're live. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. Hopefully, y'all are hanging out after listening to our very own at Stoner Brewing Co., who just had really good numbers for a Sunday night. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out for that. You guys don't know what that means to us. We've been doing this for a long time, and it's finally starting to sink in that we are not the little minnows in the big ocean of podcasting that we once thought we were, because we are getting solid numbers almost everywhere now. Now, I'm not trying to put us on par with the folks that are household names. That's not what I'm trying to do. But there are definitely levels to podcasting, and we have definitely found a new gear. That is primarily thanks to all of you who have found us on X and show us love every single time we are live, because we do lots of shows, yo. It's kind of weird to think about, because we were putting a list out, and we have a few that are in a holding pattern while we wait to see whether they're going to launch or not. And if they take off, it's going to put us up to like 30 different shows, all under one house. So it's kind of astounding to think about. Like, I just saw somebody today who happened to catch a post about the Vincent Charles project, and he was like, "Wait a minute, you do a show? I didn't know you do it. You did a show." It's just weird, because we have so much new talent coming in, so many new shows trying to come online. We've got shows that have been around for forever. We've got shows that are just really starting to get noticed, and honestly, it's because of all of you. So I want to take a moment before we get into the actual show just to show you guys some love, because you guys are part of the reason why we do this. And I remember when I started this so many years ago, there was like one guy consistently hanging out in the chat, and he's become the patron saint of KLRNRadio because he's passed away, unfortunately. For those of you that have been here for a while, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Ron, and he's been on my mind a lot lately, because I can only imagine what he'd be saying about where we are right now compared to where we started. But anyway, I'm going to try not to lose it tonight on air, because I had no intention of bringing him up, but he's been on my mind a lot lately. Also, if you liked the song that I just played, you can actually, I had the code up the entire time, but just in case you missed it, you can actually go buy it. It's like 99 cents. It was sent to me by a friend. It's The Ballad of Donald J. Trump. And you can see the name of the artist that put it out on the graphic there. But if you would like to go buy that, you can go do that. I think it's actually, it's not 99 cents, it's $1. But anyway, you're right, Jeff. He probably would. All right. So anyway, before we get into the topics of the show, because we usually do a bit of a monologue here. On the afternoon shows, if I play a song or something, I usually skip it. This one I'm not really going to, because there's something I want to say, because you hear this all the time from the left, talking about how America's a democracy. America's a democracy. America's a democracy. Now, I will say this to you, and I will be 1,000% honest with you when I say it. Thanks to some of the changes that have been made to how we do things, we are dangerously more close to a democracy than our founding fathers ever intended. But what if I told you that the Declaration of Independence never actually mentions anything about a democracy. It's not mentioned one time. What if I told you the Constitution never mentions the word democracy? What if I told you that our founding fathers were diametrically opposed to us being a democracy because their only experience with democracy and throughout history were the Greek Isles, and some of the most decadent government experiments ever were done through the Greek Isle city-states. Some of the most extravagant and expensive government experiments ever were done through those city-states. This is why we were designed to be a republic. Oh, you suck, Andrew. That's all right. Enjoy the replay tomorrow. Sleep well, my guy. Thank you for hanging out for at least as long as you could. Hurts my feelings that he's leaving. Ron would not leave me, bro. I'm just saying, you keep texting me that you're trying to take Ron's place. Ron would not leave me. Okay, I'm done trying to guilt you, man. Go to bed. All right. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, we're not a democracy. This is something that I think needs to start being driven home. Now, I will say that I have noticed, like I saw, and I've been looking for the story again. There was a story that came out through Red State. I'm going to see if I can find it when we take the break. There was apparently a Trump rally with a bunch of college kids in Pennsylvania, and they were all wearing MAGA hats. So I don't know if we're in as much trouble with Gen Z as we thought we were. And Gen Alpha, from the little bit I've seen from them, they're becoming Gen X, the next generation. Those little guys and gals are outside playing in the neighborhoods and doing all the crazy stunts that we used to do. So I am starting to have a little bit of hope. But to keep that hope alive, we have to get past this election cycle, because I hate to tell you this. I know this gets said every single time, but I'm telling you, I believe it with every fiber of my being. If we don't stop Kamala Harris, we will probably never have an election again. And let me explain, because this isn't just the usual, oh, our guy's better and he has better policies. No, I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying to you. I'm telling you that from now on, if we don't stop this, if we don't make them understand that this is not something we are willing to stand for, then they're just going to do this from now on. As soon as they see any issues in the polls, as soon as they see any issues where they think they're going to lose, they're just going to tap in a new candidate and just run with it, because nobody stopped them. So we have no choice but to stop them. Now, the good news is I think there are things in place that will stop a lot of the shenanigans that happened in 2020. And I will freely admit to you that there were shenanigans in 2020. If that hurts your feelings, then please feel free to turn off this broadcast, because we deal in facts here, not feelings. The facts are Nate Silver left his own project after 2020 because he started trying to show people where the issues were, and he was forced out. So he started his own. You can go see it if you go look. There is a cliff in reverse during early morning next day after the election. There are hundreds of votes that came in, all for Joe Biden. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about this, and the reason I'm bringing this up, and it'll take me a second to get it changed over because I don't have the right thing on. So one moment, but this isn't the topic of this video, but I want to point something out that this video does a really good job of breaking down, and it's something that I've tried to explain a lot. So hang on just a second. All right, let's make that go away because I don't need it up for that one. And then we're gonna do this. Sorry, I'm my own producer, so if you hear me talking to myself, it's because I'm trying to make sure I'm pushing all the right buttons. So, all right, so you guys can see it now. Now, we're not going to play all of this because the first couple of minutes kind of break down exactly what I want to talk about the very shenanigans that I've been trying to tell people about for a long time.
In 2020, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by a seemingly huge margin, 306 electoral college votes to 232. But let me show you how shaky that lead really was. 16 of those votes in Georgia that went to Biden, look how that race went. 2.47 million to 2.46 million. That's a difference of just 11,700.
All right, so we're going to stop right there for just a second. So as you can see on the screen, that is a difference of 11,779 votes. What have they found in Georgia that was just actually put out through a press conference a couple of months ago? Ballots that were scanned more than once? Wonder how much of that had to do with this difference. But you're going to see all of these numbers. And then at the end, I'm going to explain specifically why I'm talking to you about this to help put this to bed once and for all, because there were issues with the 2020 election. I don't care what the president says. I don't care what the vice president says. I don't care what anybody said from the time, because I was watching it live on air, because I do this I've been doing this for 16 years. This will be my 5th presidential election that I've covered. And this one was the only time I've ever seen anything like what we saw. The only time in all of these that I have done. But anyway, back to the tape.
79 votes, meaning if half that number, 5,890 people, switched from Biden to Trump.
This shows you the margin that they needed to duplicate votes for to swing it the other direction. You're talking about less than 6,000 votes. And they know there were ballots that were duplicate scanned. They know it. They found it. They haven't found all of them, but they found enough to know that it was happening.
Trump, all 16 of those electoral college votes would have gone to Trump as well. And this gets crazier. Arizona was similar, razor-thin margins. Biden won by 10,457 votes. So, if 5,229 of those people decided to change their mind, Trump would have taken all of Arizona's 11.
And wait. So Biden won by less than 5,000 votes. Weren't there shenanigans reported in Arizona too? I'm pretty sure there were, but weren't there shenanigans reported in Arizona, not only in 2020, but also in 2022? Pretty sure I remember that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think so.
11 electoral college votes. Finally, look at Wisconsin. Biden won by almost 21,000 votes. If 10,342 Biden supporters changed their votes to Trump, Wisconsin.
Or if 10,322 ballots showed up delivered by the magic ballot fairy in the overnight session, all for Biden, guess who wins?
10 electoral college votes would have gone to Trump as well. So what's the point of this mental math? Well, if those roughly 20,000 people across 3 states change.
Roughly 20,000 people across 3 states. This is what I have been trying to explain to you since this happened. It is really easy for anyone inside the federal government to tell you that our national elections are unimpeachable. You know why they can tell that to you with a straight face? Because we don't have national elections. We have regional elections with national consequences. So we're talking about 5,890 votes in Georgia, 5,229 voters in Arizona, and 10,342 voters in Wisconsin. Now, those are only 3 of the states where there were reported and known issues. And in 2 of those states, they have verified that there were issues that they are now starting to try to fix. So much so that now Georgia has required that the ballots will be hand counted as well as machine counted so they can reconcile the 2 numbers. This is how we know there was an issue in Georgia, even though they kept telling us there wasn't. They swore to us that there was not an issue in Georgia. They told us over and over and over again, you're just an extremist. You're just somebody who thinks that the election was stolen without any proof. Except they've been proving it all along. They've been proving it because otherwise they wouldn't be making the changes that they're making. So they've known all along there was a problem. They just didn't care. They didn't care because they got the outcome that they wanted. The problem is now the American people are waking up to the fact that the elites got the outcome that they wanted, and we've all paid the price, and we've all paid the consequences. That's the problem in America right now. And I'm telling you right now, if they try it again, I don't know what's going to happen. I've watched 2 or 3 different videos today from different people interviewing different folks in small town USA that are like, if they do this again, there's going to be a revolution. Now, most of them said there was going to be a conflict. There was one specific that was done with a Sky News reporter that I think was said that way on purpose because she was British. But he's like, yeah, if they try to steal it again, there's going to be a revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to understand that something drastic happened in 2020. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to go back and look at what we understand and what we see now about what the CIA and the FBI colluded to try to do in 2015 and 2016. The simple fact of the matter is, our government has been out to stop this man from the moment that he declared. Now, you can decide why that is. You can buy their narrative that he's a threat to democracy and that he's evil incarnate and everything else. But let me break this down for you in a way that I hope makes sense. Because I'm going to be honest. If there were somebody that I felt that way about, they would be the last people I would be calling on or calling to check on after somebody tried to shoot them. Biden has called him twice. Harris has called him once. If he's so evil, if he's so terrible, then why would they care? Because it's not going to play optically well with their base. Their base doesn't care that he's okay. Half of their base is sad that they missed. Not once, but now twice. Now we've got all these things coming out about the second shooter that make no sense. We still know almost nothing about the first shooter, but you know what all this smacks of? Things you would see in a conspiracy theory movie. And the longer they go without telling us these things, the more it's going to seem like the government was involved. And with everything that they have tried to do, with everything that they have been involved in, with everything that we now know, there's a good chance they are involved, which is one of the reasons why I'm really glad DeSantis said, look, the federal government can't even press the attempted murder charges. Only we can do that. So we're going to run our own independent investigation. And of course, the federal government started hemming and hawing and freaking out about that. Gee, I wonder why that was. Al, I hope you're wrong, but I have to agree because we're getting dangerously close to that outcome too. That actually deserves to go on the screen, not just on the side, because that's a very astute observation. That's our very own Alan Ray, who does Sunday Nights with Alan Ray and Playing in the Dirt. His Sunday night show is on hiatus. I hope he comes back soon. We miss you. Anyway, but yeah, very astute observation. And honestly, I think they're putting all the chess pieces in place to be able to do that. That's part of what terrifies me. I really, really hope we're all wrong, but I have to say I've been worried about that for a while. And as a matter of fact, that was actually, believe it or not, a little joke with the folks when I left OU. I was like, I guarantee you, now that I'm trying to move into this full time, the end of the world's going to happen within 2 years. And everybody laughed, and they're like, why aren't you laughing? Because I'm not sure of the joke. Because all of the pieces were already starting to line up. I mean, you had the entire government come out against the sitting president over the COVID stuff. I mean, with everything that we know now, I can't believe more people aren't pissed off about what happened with COVID. And not because of what Trump did either, but because of what Trump tried to do, and the administrative state stopped him. The administrative state called on Facebook and Twitter at the time, who were both owned by leftist idiots, to suppress information that could have saved lives. Half of these people that died didn't need to die. But they don't care. The reason why they don't care is the whole time they're shrieking at you about Project 2025, they're not talking about Agenda 2030, which is their little black book, which is all the things they need to have happen for climate change to be stopped, for the ushering in of a centralized world government. One of the first things they need to have happen is a decreased population. Do you really think it's a coincidence that all these things keep being cooked up in a lab to help decrease population? I don't. I'm sorry. I don't believe in coincidences. And I'm sorry, I buy into Reagan's mantra about the government. 9 scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help, because most of the time, Everything they touch turns to crap. Even some of the things Trump tried to do didn't work out, but it wasn't because of Trump. It was because the companies decided to do it anyway after they told him they weren't going to. Trump put all these policies in place to try to keep the car companies in America. They still decided to move to Mexico. This is why he's now stating at this point he's going to put a 100% tariff on any cars that come in from outside of the country. Before anybody yells at me about what a terrible idea that is, have any of you ever traveled to Europe? Do you see any of our cars on European roads? I've never traveled there, but I know enough people that do. You don't see our cars over there. You know why you don't see our cars over there? Because they have very large tariffs on them, so nobody wants to import them to sell them. Why is it okay for every other country to do it, not us? The thing about it is, yes, a tariff can be a tax on the American consumer if the American consumer still chooses to buy the product that is tariffed. But at the same time, a tariff can also be used as a negotiation tool. What happens when the Ford plants that are in Mexico realize they can't ship their cars home because there's a 100% tariff on them because they were produced outside of the country? What do you think is going to happen? Just saying, what do you think is going to happen? And yeah, Jeff pointed out the Gran Tour or Top Gear. Every time they would bring over an American muscle car, it was like an alien landed. And trust me, Jeff should know from aliens landing. Just saying. But that's the thing. If all of a sudden Ford can't get their cars into the country, and if Chevy can't get their cars into the country, what do you think is going to happen? They're either going to try to negotiate a better deal to get some of those tariffs to come away, or they're going to move their manufacturing back home again, which is what they told Trump they were going to do in the first place. And then somehow it was Trump's fault that they didn't keep their word. This is part of what I've been trying to explain the whole time. The president can only do so much because he can't force people to keep their businesses here. He can put policies in place to make the country more business friendly. He can put policies in place that harm companies that decide to take their business overseas or move it to another place or everything else. The other problem with that is, though, part of what made this stuff as easy as it is NAFTA. And who was responsible for NAFTA? Bill Clinton was the last sitting president or last sitting presidential party administration, because we have to change that now because of the swap, to not get the Teamster endorsement at the national level. And that was because they were pissed off at him over NAFTA and also the other few conspiracies that were popping up about him and around him. So the last time that the Teamsters said, "Yeah, no, we're just going to kind of sit this one out," was all the way back in 1996. You do the math. That was a long time ago. To tell you how long ago it was, I'm 51 now. I was 26 then. That's how long ago that was. I'm just saying, these policies, while they scare the crap out of the left, they must be working because it's the only part of the Trump plan that they didn't completely do away with. They took 96 executive orders to undo everything that Donald Trump did with the border and have stuck us with so many people that towns like Springfield are being crushed by the weight. Now they're trying to tell you that the migration numbers are down, but they're really not, because now they're just flying them in on planes and sending them to swing states. I wonder why they're focusing on swing states. Does anybody not see what they're trying to do? Do you not understand that while they're telling you, well, it's impossible for people that aren't citizens to vote in our elections in this country? If that's true, why are they fighting so hard to pass laws that make it impossible for people that aren't citizens to vote in elections in this country? It's not going to be very expensive legislation to get done. It's because they know the truth. This is why so many people that are Hispanic Americans and African Americans, and I really hate the hyphenated things, but it's the only way to make the point come across. It's why so many of them are starting to wake up. It's why Trump's numbers among those communities are skyrocketing, because they're now finding out that everything the right has been trying to tell them since 2004, 2005, 2006 wasn't a lie and it wasn't a conspiracy theory. They are importing voters right under your eyes, and all you need to do is have the common sense and decency enough to look. Some of you refuse to do that because you can't see how bad your side is. And I really don't understand that mindset, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I just do not. Because the simple fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, you have to take a really hard, long look at everybody. And I just want to remind you that for those of us that are voting for Donald Trump, we're not dating the man. We're not going to marry the man. We just want somebody in office who understands that if we don't do things a certain way, this country, everything it stands for and everything that it was created for is about to die. That's where we are today. And there are too many people that just either don't want to understand that or just don't care. And I don't know which one is which anymore. And I'm not even sure I care enough to find out one way or the other. I just know that all of this is terrible. Everything that we're watching happen is absolutely terrible. We're watching families fight with one another. We're watching cities fight with one another. We're watching people marching into city hall meetings trying to say, why are you doing all this for all these people when we're starving? Why do they get vouchers for food when we're starving? Why do they get cheap houses when we're starving? I mean, look, you can be as mad at me about all this as you want. I don't really care one way or the other, if I'm being completely honest, because none of that matters to me. It's not this. None of this is about me. This is about trying to wake you guys up to where we are and what it is that they're trying to do. Barack Obama had one message for the entire 8 years that he was in office. He was going to fundamentally transform America. And whether you want to believe it or not, he's done it. The problem is they didn't get a chance to finish it off. They would have if Hillary Clinton had won. We wouldn't even be having this conversation right now if Hillary Clinton had been won. Most likely people like me and people that do the things that I do would probably be in re-education camps right now still if Hillary Clinton had won. And it's just the truth of it. They would be rounding us up, putting us into camps, and they would still have control of everything. You know why everybody's freaking out right now? Because the internet has become the new information age. The internet's been the information age all along, but now the internet is being used to convey news and information and all the things the media doesn't want you to know about. This is why they're freaking out. Because you guys are getting your information from sources that are not them. For the longest time, whether it was TV, whether it was radio, whether it was whatever, there were gatekeepers that could control who was giving the information, what kind of information was being given out, and whether it was okay to be given out. Now they can't do that, which is why they've started all of this stuff about misinformation and disinformation and how there's no free speech protection against misinformation and disinformation, which is a flat out lie. Ladies and gentlemen, the founding fathers believed you were smart enough to be able to discern for yourself what was actual information and factual information versus what was somebody blowing smoke up your butt. I would like to think the same. The government doesn't want to think that way. The government doesn't want to give you that benefit of the doubt. The media doesn't want to give you that benefit of the doubt. For the longest time, we were spoon-fed everything we ever needed to know about all the things. So this is going to take me a second to get situated properly, so it's going to look a little weird for a second. I usually try not to have things half set up, but I want you guys to watch this. I'm going to try to see if I can make it any bigger. Either way, you'll still be able to hear it fairly well. I just wanted it on the screen before I hit refresh so I don't lose any of it. So hang on just a second.
Okay. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
Like, I can't be the only one who thinks this is not okay. Like, it's the First Amendment. And no politician, I don't care who you're voting for, whether it's Kamala, Trump, or that one weird guy who was blabbling about on stage. We don't even know where he is now. We don't even know if he's still the president. I don't care who you support. But no one should be okay with a politician saying they're going to restrict your First Amendment right on social media platforms. I don't give a fuck about mouth-breathing racists spewing hateful bullshit online. It's the First Amendment. And for the people who are like, oh, no, it's a private platform and your First Amendment doesn't account. Shut the fuck up. Yes, it does. Because this is a government telling a private company to censor people's First Amendment right on their platform. That is the same thing. What the fuck is going on in this country? Y'all think this is okay?
We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law.
Sorry about the wraparound there, but I couldn't get it not to replay. But anyway, so I would just like to point out who it was saying these things. Because it's not just the folks that look like me anymore. That's the part that I wanted to point out. Because it's not just the folks that look like me anymore saying these things. It's not. There are people that are waking up from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, that are realizing the government is not your friend. I only hope and pray that they're not waking up too late. As we get ready to take the break, because we are going to take one, I just want you guys to think about this. When we come back, there's so many more things that I need to get to. We're probably not going to go over tonight, because anything I don't get to for tonight, we'll just start off with tomorrow on the afternoon show. Because at this point, whether I'm producing or live myself, I'm usually doing radio 7 days a week. So there's always somewhere else to get more stuff out. But we are going to take a quick break because I am out of stuff to sip on. So we've got to take care of that. So give me just a moment here. I do want to give a quick shout out and a thank you to everybody listening right now. We are getting close to 400 eyeballs. So for anybody who had 400 sets of eyeballs, sorry. So for anybody who hasn't yet, make sure you're liking and sharing the feed. You can follow along with me at RadioX73 on X, the station at KLRNRadio, and our new news branch, Digital Beacon at Digital Beacon US. And like I said, just share out the feed. Tell your friends about us, especially if you hate us, because hate clicks are the best clicks. My name's Rick Robinson. You're listening to America Off the Rails, Sunday night's closing act here on KLRNradio.com, and we'll be right back.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we have handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles and when fully loaded can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers, but some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the fuel rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the fuel rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back to school season into back to beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve platinum status in the fuel rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the fuel rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
On those salad days when kids go out and play, yo, I was up in my room, I let the stereo play. Wasn't faded, not jaded, just a kid with a pad and a pen and a big imagination. All this I see, I find, push the envelope to the line. Make it, break it, take it, until I'm overrated. Click, click, boom, I'm coming down on the stereo, with me on the radio. Click, click, boom, I'm coming down with a new style, and you know it's not wild. Click, click, boom, I'm on the radio station, touring around the nation, leaving the scene of devastation. I can see it in my mind.
And welcome back into the America Off the Rails show, folks. I'm Rick Robinson. This is one of my shows. Also, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon doing the Rick Robinson Show. That is Monday through Friday from 11 to 2 in God's time zone, from noon to 3 for your weirdos. Every Monday through Friday except for the first Monday of the month. Then also tomorrow night I'll be pushing buttons for the ladies of the red wine. That is 8 p.m. Eastern right here live on KLRN Radio. Tuesday nights, I will actually, this coming Tuesday night, I'll be hanging around with the folks of Manorama over on their YouTube and Rumble channel because I've been asked to come back again. So I'll be over there. I believe that starts at 9 my time, so 10 Eastern, 7 his time because he's on the West Coast. I don't know why anybody still lives there. Just saying. All right. Anyway, also, before I forget, Lost Wanderer, which is the show that was on just before me, is celebrating its 100th episode in 2 weeks. So make sure you guys are back for that. That is gonna be probably a hell of a show. And it's funny because Jeff talks about that one all the time. He's like, it started as a COVID project for me to help my son with education, and now it's, almost beating Neil deGrasse Tyson on Good Pots. He actually was for a little bit. And the dude took the mantle back. So now he's like, I'm gonna get him again. I'm gonna get him again. I swear to God, I'm gonna get him again. Anyway, a little bit of inside baseball there. Hope everybody's enjoying your Sunday night with us. We have so much more still on the table, so I'm going to try to keep things rolling here. So this is the next topic, and you may hear me scream a little bit on this one. I'm just going to be honest with you, because it kind of makes me a little angry. But here we are anyway. So the House leadership has averted a government shutdown, which should make everybody happy, right? Not really. Anyway, this is from our friends at Town Hall. This is from Sarah Arnold. House leaders agree on funding deal to avoid government shutdown. Hang on, I feel like this is kind of needed. Except it helps if I make sure the volume's up. So hang on. What did I just do? Too many sliders. Too many sliders. I know. I killed the joke because the timing was off, but I still wanted to follow through anyway. U.S. House leaders unveiled a bipartisan funding agreement, otherwise known as a bipartisan fuck you to the country, on Sunday to avoid a government shutdown. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat in New York, announced the legislation to fund the government until December 20th. So we're literally kicking things down the road for like 3 more months. Yay. I can't. Anyway, it includes $231 million in U.S. Secret Service funding, which, as far as I'm concerned, they don't deserve another penny, with conditions that the agency would cooperate with congressional investigations. So they're accountable to you, you fucking weasels. You shouldn't be having to say, we're going to give you this money, but only if you do this. Anyway, the spending bill also provides funding to replenish a disaster relief fund and aid with the presidential transition. Over the past 4 days, bipartisan, bicameral negotiations have been underway to reach an agreement that maintains current funding through December 20th and avoids a government shutdown a month before the election. Schumer said in a statement, while I am pleased bipartisan negotiations quickly led to a government funding agreement free of cuts and poison pills, the same agreement could have been done 2 weeks ago. The bill comes after Johnson tried to tie in a mandate that would have required states to require proof of citizenship when people register to vote. Again, after looking at those numbers and those margins that I just showed you from 2020, why is the left fighting so hard to not have this happen if it doesn't ever happen? Anyway, sorry. To shut down the government if the election security bill didn't become law. However, it had no chance in the Democratic-controlled Senate and was ultimately opposed by the White House. Then shut it down. Look, I am not normally opposed to government shutdowns. The reason that I was kind of okay with what McCarthy did to keep the government running before McCarthy got ousted was because for the first time ever, the Senate by voice vote said that if the government was shut down for the first time ever, the military wasn't getting their pay. I think that's part of the reason why McCarthy fought so hard. I don't know if that's still in place since we're like kicking the cans the third generation down now. So I don't know if that's still in play or not. What I do know is I'm tired of this because it's pretty simple, folks. If the left is telling you this can't happen, why do they care if there's laws put in place to stop it if it can't happen? Why do they fight it every single time? So this goes on to read, the legislation was passed in what House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, called a very narrow, bare bones plan that includes only the extensions that are absolutely necessary. The feedback and ideas from everyone have been very helpful, and next week the House will take the initiative and pass a clean 3-month CR to prevent the Senate from jamming us with a bill loaded with billions in new spending and unrelated provisions. Our legislation will be a very narrow, bare-bones CR, including only the extensions that are absolutely necessary, Johnson said in a Dear Colleague letter. While this is not the solution any of us prefer, it is the most prudent path forward under the present circumstances. Johnson admitted that a government shutdown just weeks before a presidential election would be an act of malpractice. But why? Why is it now that no matter who's in charge, if a government shutdown happens, that it's always the Republicans' fault? They weren't willing to come to the table with a provision that would have put everybody's minds at ease right before an election. That's the part everybody should be talking about. It's not whether or not these things happen. It's not how slim of a margin it is that these things happen. It's the fact that if you are right and you feel that the Republicans are playing on people's fears because these things can't happen, then why don't you alleviate those fears or at least ease them by agreeing to pass this law that will have zero impact if your stance is accurate? I'll tell you why. Because we know you're full of shit. That's why. Illegal immigrants have been voting for forever. Illegal immigrants have been allowed to vote for forever because we have city and state and federal elections all at the same time. And they're allowed to vote in city elections because they live in the cities and people feel like they should have a say in who the school representatives are, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. The problem is that's only supposed to apply to people that hold green cards. But a lot of leftist cities and states have changed those rules. So how is it that if you're that if people can vote in city elections, whether they're citizens or not, and those elections are largely held around the same time when we have big elections to save time on staffing, ballots, and everything else, how are you stopping them from voting for anything else? Because you don't have a list that says this person's only allowed to vote for this election. There's no separate ballot that says this is for green card holders only. At least I've never seen one. But this is exactly what we're talking about. If this is such a non-issue, why can't we put something in to stop it? Just for the sake of argument of saying how many people would feel better if there was a law that was passed that suddenly said you had to produce proof of citizenship to be able to vote. How many people would feel better about our elections? Just that act alone would probably have a lot of people breathing sighs of relief. Because again, just a reminder, a little over 20,000 votes in 2020 swung the entire election. Without half of those votes being cast the way they were, it would have been a statistical tie. That's what he goes into in the rest of the video that I didn't show you, is what would happen in the event that there was a statistical tie. And that's the House of Representatives gets to decide. But this goes back to everything that I've been talking about for the longest time. If it's a non-issue and the people are clamoring for proof that it is a non-issue, then why not pass a piece of legislation to make sure that even if it is an issue, that it won't impact the elections going forward? Now, here's another story that's been making the rounds, and I do want to correct it a bit. There was a story that came out just after Kamilama Hamasnik, I said what I said, did her Oprah appearance that everybody started seeing an angle where there was a teleprompter. Well, there was a teleprompter, but it was brought out towards the end, and it only had Oprah's points on it. And that's actually part of what this article goes into, is a retraction of that. But then it points out something else that's weird that's going on. This is another reason why I firmly believe at this point, if we don't win this with as much astroturfing as they're doing, with as much as they're helping her get away with everything, then it's going to be because of shenanigans. And luckily, I don't think they're going to be able to do it as well this time, because too many states have caught on. But this is from Nick Arama, and this is again from Red State. Whoops, did you notice this small problem with Kamala's Oprah Zoom audience? So I wanted to hit upon a couple of things that people were posting on X about the Kamala Oprah debacle and clear up one story that's floating out there. There were questions about whether there was a teleprompter at the event. However, it appears to have come out only at the end when Oprah was giving her wrap-up remarks and telling people where they could go for more information. The lines on the teleprompter were similar to Oprah's final lines, according to the transcript, not Kamala's. It was bad enough already, as we reported, with Kamala just delivering up disastrous word salads and not answering basic questions, which she never does, by the way. Again, it seemed like a vibe group encounter session about feelings more than about results. However, there was something else that people were questioning on X that appears to be true, as Nick Sorter pointed out. You can check any of the coverage from ABC or that was ever posted by Harris herself on her own YouTube channel. There appear to be duplicates in the Zoom audience, despite the fact that Oprah was talking about this great grassroots efforts. Here's a shot from the ABC News video. At 2 minutes in, check the second and third rows from the top. You can see in the second row from the top, starting from the left, there are 7 people. Those same 7 people are then repeated in the third row, starting from the middle. It says you can click to enlarge, so I'm going to see if we can. Hang on. All right, so let's see if we see what they see. So, yeah, those are the same folks, all right. You can see them over here. And then you see him again over here. Weird, right? All right, let's go back to the article. So you can also see at 5:37 on the original video. Here's the original video. I didn't check to see if they have this queued up or not, but we might as well. Hang on. I think I have YouTube muted, I think. Nope. Oh, wait, I know why. I had the board muted.
So I felt a great responsibility, and the incredible power of the people, right? Who, I'm not the only leader in this. We're all leaders in this. This is so much bigger than me.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
It's about who we are as Americans. And it's about making clear what we stand for. And what we stand for is about the ideals upon which we were founded, including the importance of freedom and the importance of independence and the importance of dignity and purpose. But it is also about what we stand for in terms of our values. I think of it this way.
I think a lot boils down to values. I just said values are on the line here.
Yes. It does. I mean, think about it, Oprah. The idea that some would suggest, and that my opponent suggests, which is that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down. Come on. The real measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. And it's important for us.
And who exactly have you lifted up, Miss Harris? That's my question for you. I mean, I know you're never going to answer hard questions. I have no illusions that I'm ever going to get a chance to ask you those questions because I already know better. But who exactly have you lifted up, ma'am? That's the question I want answered. Because if you're supposedly this superhero that's going to make all of America this awesome place again, I want to know what it is that you think you have done to make you think that you're going to be able to do that at all. What have you done? You have jailed a disproportionate number of African Americans when you were district attorney. You then went completely soft on crime when you were the state's attorney, well, not state's attorney, one of our attorney general. There we go. You've done almost nothing since you've been vice president. I have been laughably calling you the ChatGPT VP because it fits. You don't do anything. You haven't done anything of substance the entire time that you've been in office. Not one thing have you done that has helped anything or anyone with of the American people. You have not done anything to make anything better at all. Why should we give you a promotion? That's the question that I want asked that nobody's ever going to ask because everybody's afraid to. And I don't really understand why. We are a country founded upon the ideas of being free and personally accountable to ourselves and to our God and to our family above everything else. And for some reason, everybody's afraid of that anymore. We need the government to be our parent. I don't. I have parents. I don't need another one. I don't need the government running my life. As a matter of fact, I want the government as much out of my life as possible. You know, and my good friend Ordnance Packard, who I do shows around here with. We have Toxic Masculinity coming up on Wednesday that we do together. We do the Rick and Orty show on Wednesday nights. We do Juxtaposition, which is about to kick off its Rocktober a little bit early because we're actually going to start this coming Saturday instead of waiting until the first actual Saturday in October. Because we owe you guys some episodes because usually lately we've for October we've only actually been. It's funny because we've actually only been able to complete one full session of Rocktober. The first one we ever did was on demons, and that was terrifying. And there were like 2 episodes that we couldn't do. One we wound up doing as a makeup, and we still never got the 4th one done. And then this last one we did witches, and that was terrifying. But so we have opted to do vampires on this coming Juxtaposition. As a plug, though, there will be lots of shows in October that are finding ways to use that theme. So make sure you guys are checking those out. Anyway, that's a bit of a mid-show break for the station. So that's happening. But anyway, but this goes back to the same thing that I was just talking about a second ago. Almost all of this stuff that is being promoted through like the Kamala HQ account, the Kamala Wins account, these things would make Baghdad Bob blush. They are out and out lies most of the time, and it's so funny because we've actually done a War of the Worlds here. We did it was a few years ago. First time we ever tried to do like a live radio broadcast, and it just kind of started out as kind of a joke to give people stuff to do because of COVID, and it was so well received that now we do holiday specials at least once a year. We've actually been trying to do 2 and 3, but you know, we're all a bunch of people with actual jobs too. So, but I just, you know, back to what I was saying a second ago, these accounts are taking some of the actual leaked press statements regarding the end of Joe Biden's political career and changing the names to Trump and then putting them out as if they've been happening for the last few weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you that even with them doing all the heavy lifting and all the pushing they can to push this nag over the finish line, and I said nag for a reason, because just say nay to Walz and Harris. Just saying. Anyway, we have a shirt for that too. KLRNradio.com/store. All right. So anyway, but they're doing everything they can to push this thing over the finish line, and they can't get her outside of the margin of error. But it goes even further. Because this is also from our friends at Town Hall as we start going into a bit of a lightning round because we've only got a few minutes left. And I've still got stuff on the table here. So this is again from Sarah Arnold. Tim Walz roasted for major slip-up. Democrat Vice President nominee Governor Tim Walz, Democrat Minnesota, let slip the truth behind the Biden-Harris administration and the agenda he's been touting since becoming Vice President Kamala Harris' running mate. During a campaign stop in Pennsylvania, Walz declared that America cannot afford 4 more years of this. So again, this is if anybody from Trump War Room is listening, you don't even need to make your own ads. Just clip their videos and have Trump at the end saying, I support this message, or I endorse this message, or I approve this message, or however you want to do it. But here,
we can't afford 4 more years of this.
So hang on,
we can't afford 4 more years of this.
Now, this goes back to something that I've been saying now for weeks. The Harris-Walz campaign has done this really weird thing where they're running as if they are not part of the incumbent party. And it makes no sense to anyone who's paying attention. Because when you have your vice presidential nominee say, we can't afford 4 more years of this, realizing that you're a part of the hyphenated part of 4 more years of this, that's probably got some people pretty pissed off, I would think. I would imagine. But this is part and parcel of everything that we're talking about. These two are basically the keystone cops of VP and potential president and VP nominee. It's comical. It would be if it wasn't for the fact that the future of our entire country is on the line. All right, let's go back to the article for a bit. During a campaign stop in Pennsylvania, of all places, Pennsylvania, which they've already determined if she loses Pennsylvania, it's pretty much done for her. Especially with some, if we have time, there's something else I want to take a deeper look at, because there's some stuff going on with Nebraska that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. So we may actually do kind of a live read through of that. But during a campaign stop in Pennsylvania, Walz declared that America cannot afford 4 more years of this, while criticizing former President Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, Republican Ohio. Walz promised to bring Harris home, claiming Vance and Trump want to instill fear. They want to tell you that you should just get over it. It's a fact of life, that this is the way it is, he said. Harris simply has said it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. We can't afford 4 more years of this. While it's unclear what Walz was referring to when he said that the U.S. can't afford 4 more years, social media was in a frenzy, pointing to obvious issues that the Biden-Harris administration had caused. So, yeah, see, exactly. Trump, I approve this message. He actually can tell the truth once in a while. Walz is right. We can't afford 4 more years of woke incompetence. Thanks to Bidenomics, prices are up 17.3%. That's, I don't want to say it's a lie, but it's using their own numbers, and they cook those numbers. So it's inaccurate. I will say that much. With food prices increasing 20.2%, rent cost up over 19%, electric cost up over 25%. Since January of 2021, when President Joe Biden first took office, the price of ground beef shot up 26%. The recent Consumer Price Index data found that overall grocery items increased by 22% when Trump left the White House. In addition, illegal immigration has swept through the country, destroying American communities and taking innocent lives. Due to Biden and Harris policies, the United States is also on the brink of World War III. Hundreds of millions of dollars have gone towards foreign countries peddling war and corruption, while the U.S. own border has not been helped at all. So yes, Walz, you're right. America cannot afford to spend another 4 years under the Harris administration. All right, so before we get to the final story, there's one more definite thing that I wanted to get to, and that's the fact that Janet Jackson managed to break the internet today. I was dying when I read this, and I've been scrambling around today, so I was like, yeah, I'll just make a note of it, and we'll come back and talk about it later. But apparently, Janet Jackson herself broke the internet today by declaring that Kamala Harris isn't black. And then somebody claiming to be her manager apologized for her and said that she didn't mean it that way and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then someone else posted stating that Janet Jackson only has one manager and it's her brother, and that wasn't him. And she still stands by her statements that Kamala Harris isn't black. Now, look, I know why she's saying what she's saying, and it's not why everybody thinks it is. It's because she spent her whole life telling everybody she was Indian. Then when it became politically expedient, she was black again. And it's why I have heard so many people of color on social media and everywhere else and interviews that have been done talking about Kamala Harris, and they'll be the first ones to tell you she ain't black. I played tape from Chicago the other day. I think it was Chicago, where they were in a city hall meeting, and they were talking about, how you guys are foisting this fake black woman on us, and we don't want none of that, and y'all better be changing to the Republican Party because we're coming for your seats. This is what I'm saying. It may have taken a while, but the minorities in this country are finally starting to wake up and realizing that the people that kept telling them that vote for us and we'll take care of you didn't mean a damn word they said. And they have now proven it time and time and time again. Now they're trying to tell you that Donald Trump is the one running on fear. I don't hear that when I hear Donald Trump speak. I don't hear that. If you're hearing that, that probably has more of a reflection on you than it does on him. Because I don't hear that when he speaks. He tells you the truth. The fact that this country is falling apart. And if we don't stand up and start trying to do something about it, there may not be much of it left to save in another 4 years. That is not fear-mongering. That's the truth. He tells you that the government tells you one thing and does something else all of the time. That is not fear-mongering. That is the truth. Because you can watch it with your own eyes. It happens over and over and over again. It's happened with this very administration. The Inflation Reduction Act. Now, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris herself have all come out and said that it really didn't have anything to do with inflation. It was about helping to curb climate control. They're talking about their rural internet plan, where they've spent billions of dollars, and yet not a single person that they can find any record of has benefited from those billions of dollars. You've got Tim Walz's state being investigated for embezzling money from the program that he touts about helping to feed school-aged children. Nobody's really talking about that. You've got him using Gestapo-like tactics during the riots. Nobody's talking about that. You've got Kamala Harris in 2019 telling people that the Second Amendment is negotiable and she's going to have a full-on mandatory gun buyback program. Nobody wants to talk about that anymore. You can still find it if you go look. Trust me, it's on Rumble. It's about the only place you can still find it because I've looked almost everywhere else. Can't seem to find it anymore. But she is on record in 2019 saying she was going to have a mandatory gun buyback program. Now she's telling you that she owns a gun and she's not coming after your guns. Well, that's not what she said in 2019. So this is my problem because as somebody that is a member of the media, as somebody that is starting to build a news arm and everything else, I would like somebody to ask her the question of, if you don't feel this way now, why did you say this in 2019? But nobody's willing to ask her that question. They're just busily trying to scrub everything she's ever said that may terrify somebody from any bit of social media or computers or anything else that they have access to, which is probably why it's still on Rumble, even though you can't really find it anywhere else. But this goes back to the same question that I have to ask over and over and over again. Would you rather have somebody and vote for somebody that you know what you're getting, that he's the same? And I've heard this from more and more people, and I'm starting to believe it myself with the more kind of unstructured interviews that he's doing. Would you rather have somebody be the same, whether they're on camera or off camera? Know that while he can be an asshole, he's an asshole who's on your side? Is because I have to tell you, that's kind of the guy that I want in the behind the closed doors meetings. Not the commie llama who couldn't even get anybody to come to the table and stop the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Not the commie llama who was put in charge of the border and made it a million times worse. Then the media started trying to do all the heavy lifting. Well, she wasn't really ever in charge of the border. That's not what it said at the time. That's not what Joe Biden said at the time. But sure, you can do your whole revisionist history thing. Y'all guys are good at that. It's too bad that there's actually places now where you can find information and you don't have the ability to terrify them into taking it down. But sure, keep trying. Ladies and gentlemen, I say all of this to you today because over the next few days, you're going to keep seeing more and more from the Harris camp about how Donald Trump is a chicken because he's not wanting to debate on CNN in October. 2 points with that. CNN's already gotten to host the debate, so they shouldn't be getting a second bite of the apple, for one, until somebody else gets a turn. For two, I would just like to point out that we now have 100% chance out of 2 debates that within a few days of each debate, somebody took a shot at him. So if I was Donald Trump, I probably wouldn't want to be debating her anymore either. Because here's the thing. If they're so convinced that they won, they wouldn't be trying so hard to get him to debate again, because all that's doing is adding to his whole message of that's like a prize fighter who either got their ass kicked and wound up with a tough draw or actually lost, and now they want a rematch. Anybody remember Rocky 1 and Rocky 2? I'm just saying. Now, you can say what you want, but the other point that he's been trying to make, and I think he's completely right about it, is a lot of voting has already started. So people have already made up their minds. You saw it with the last debate. The needle wasn't moved. And for the bit of a needle that was moved, it wasn't in the direction the Harris camp wanted in the first place, which is why they're trying so hard to get him to come back to the table again about another debate. The irony is, when he was being cocky and he challenged her to 3 separate debates, if she would have just said yes, she would have painted him into a corner, and it may have actually eventually helped her. But now this is making her look weak, because now she's the one doing the taunting, which is what, according to the left, they hated about him. So we'll see if that translates to her or not. I doubt it will, because now that she's the one doing the taunting, oh, look, she's so much tougher than he is. I've seen that over and over and over again. Anyway. All right. So let me see if I can find that Nebraska story real quick. I don't remember which site I saw it on. All right, so I can't find that one. We'll try to find it for tomorrow. There was one more thing on my list that I wanted to talk about, so we'll just close out with this one. This is again from Red State. This is Bonchi. Watch, dazed and confused, Joe Biden's memory issues reach a shocking new low. Now, that's saying something, since Jill Biden had to step in at the first cabinet meeting in a couple of years and kind of take it over. The biggest political scandal in modern history continues to live on at the expense of the American people. Joe Biden, who exited the presidential race in July with no coherent explanation while insisting he's still mentally and physically fit to serve, remains the leader of the most powerful country on earth. As the story goes, he's the best, most consequential president ever, but also he can't continue his reelection campaign. I'll let you do the math on that one. I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump drinking a cup of water with 2 hands spawned calls for use of the 25th Amendment. Still, the press remains completely uninterested in questioning the dangerous absurdity of the situation. So here we are with the President of the United States forgetting who he's supposed to introduce at a joint speaking event. Oh, I saw this one earlier today. I wasn't sure which one he was talking about, but here we go.
Thank you all for being here. Introduce you next. Who's next?
Okay, hang on. There's a prompter. Why didn't they put the dude's name in the prompter? You can see the. I'm so. So not only just the other day did Dr. Jill have to take over the cabinet meeting. This guy can't even remember who he's supposed to be introducing. But there's a very super secret weapon reason why they're not 25th Amendmenting him. And I think I'm one of only 3 people that ever talk about it. As long as she's the vice president, she's the final deciding vote on whether the votes get certified or not, as far as the Electoral College. There's a very specific reason they are doing everything they can to not 25th Amendment this guy. And that's it. Because I guarantee you, unless it's a landslide, that there's just no way that they can call any kind of shenanigans, the left is going to do what they have done in every election cycle where they didn't win since 2000. And they're going to try to send alternate electors to Congress. They do this every time. Our side's done it once, and it was an insurrection, even though it doesn't even fit the definition of legal insurrection based on the FBI. Now, it does fit. I'm not gonna lie. It does fit Webster's definition. But as far as the FBI was concerned, there was not enough legal evidence to make it count as a legal insurrection, which is why nobody has faced charges with that. I would like to point out that this vastly corrupt FBI, who has done everything they can to lambaste this man and done everything they can to upjump charges and everything else, are the ones telling everybody it wasn't an insurrection. But to the media, it still is. To Nancy Pelosi, it was. But the problem is now you have two different tapes from Nancy Pelosi in two different instances admitting that a lot of this was her fault. And then I've seen another story that I'm still trying to track back down again because now I can't find it, talking about that the day of January 6th, the magnetic locks at the Capitol were disabled. If that is true, who has the authority to disable those? That is a question I kind of feel like we should have answered. Maybe it's just me. All right. Well, believe it or not, folks, we are pretty much at the end of the program. Don't forget, I will be back tomorrow doing the Rick Robinson Show. Again, that is 11 to 2 in God's time zone, noon to 3 for you weirdos. And then in West Coast and Mountain. Meh. Anyway, also be back tomorrow night doing button pushing for the ladies of the red wine. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern, running 8 to 10. Tuesday night, I'm off on KLRN Radio side, but I'll be hanging out with the Manorama panel again. That is at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 my time, 7 Pacific. I'll be nice on that one since most of the panelists live in that time zone. Anyway, and then Wednesday we have, well, actually over here on KLRN Radio, there will still be a show. The Cocktail Lounge will be live. That's now produced by our one and only Jeff, and it stars Aggie Rican and Martini Shark, otherwise known as Brad and Aggie, and you can find them Aggie time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday night's full boat. For the rest of it, just go find the schedule and go take a look. Not because I'm trying to be snippy with you, it's because I'm officially out of time. But we are going to get out of here. Don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon doing the Rick Robinson Show. Had an astounding turnout for a Sunday night. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for the show, and I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Say goodnight, Grace.